Good morning. In today's lesson we will be reviewing the various submodes of the ABRIS AMMS. We will only be looking at the submodes of the various operating modes and not covering the information displayed on each operating mode page. Please see the Black Shark 2 ABRIS AMMS training mission for an overview of the operating modes. If you are having trouble hearing me, please exit the mission and turn down your cockpit and world sounds. If you have disabled your spacebar as your fire button, please enable it for this mission to work properly. I have provided power to the ABRIS and INU for you. While it's booting, move your camera to zoom in on the ABRIS system, but do not slew your view to the side or the mission highlights will not align properly. To review, the ABRIS controls are just below the ABRIS screen and are from left to right the brightness control knob, push buttons 1 through 5, and the cursor manipulator knob. Keep in mind that the cursor manipulator knob has multiple functions depending on the mode you are in. The cursor manipulator knob can cycle through characters while in text editing mode, move the selector while in a menu, or move the cursor around on the map. Pressing the cursor manipulator knob will move to the next character position in text editing mode, select your current position in a menu, change the axis of your cursor on the map. If you need additional information about any of the systems that we will discuss here today, please refer to your flight manual. You can find the flight manual in the docs folder of your installation folder. Let's finish waiting for the ABRIS to boot up. Remember, it takes about 120 seconds to boot. Press the spacebar when the menu page appears. This is the menu page. Its submodes are Option, Control, Plan, GNSS, and Nav. Let's look at the various options of the ABRIS by pressing push button 1 Option. Good morning. In today's lesson we will be reviewing the various submodes of the ABRIS AMMS. We will only be looking at the submodes of the various operating modes and not covering the information displayed on each operating mode page. Please see the Black Shark 2 ABRIS AMMS training mission for an overview of the operating modes. If you are having trouble hearing me, please exit the mission and turn down your cockpit and world sounds. If you have disabled your spacebar as your fire button, please enable it for this mission to work properly. I have provided power to the ABRIS and INU for you. While it's booting, move your camera to zoom in on the ABRIS system, but do not slew your view to the side or the mission highlights will not align properly. To review, the ABRIS controls are just below the ABRIS screen and are from left to right the brightness control knob, push buttons 1 through 5, and the cursor manipulator knob. Keep in mind that the cursor manipulator knob has multiple functions depending on the mode you are in. The cursor manipulator knob can cycle through characters while in text editing mode, move the selector while in a menu, or move the cursor around on the map. Pressing the cursor manipulator knob will move to the next character position in text editing mode, select your current position in a menu, change the axis of your cursor on the map. If you need additional information about any of the systems that we will discuss here today, please refer to your flight manual. You can find the flight manual in the docs folder of your installation folder. Let's finish waiting for the ABRIS to boot up. Remember, it takes about 120 seconds to boot. Press the spacebar when the menu page appears. This is the menu page. Its submodes are Option, Control, Plan, GNSS, and Nav. Let's look at the various options of the ABRIS by pressing push button 1 Option. The Option submode sets the options that run through the ABRIS system. From this page, you can change various options such as adjusting the time, adjusting the local time, whether it's +2, -8, etc. You can also change whether you want magnetic or true heading. From here, you can also change the scale of the XTE deviation scale on the nav page in case you find yourself severely off course. The two most widely used options on this page are the RMI or radiomagnetic indicators. You can set them to be either to your next steer point, from your previous steer point, VOR, or radio NDB bearing stations. You can view the RMI indicators on the ARC and HSI pages with a yellow and red greater than symbols. You can change the settings here by rotating the cursor manipulator knob to move the highlight to the item you want to change. You can also use push button 2 or 3 to move up and down, and then use push button 4, change, to change the item. Take a moment to look through the various options available to you on this page. When you are done, press the spacebar key to continue. Press push button 1 Setup to go to the Options Select page. Pressing Setup brings up a black menu with various options to choose from, such as Units, Performance Setups, Alarms, and Charts. Using the cursor manipulator knob, move the selector down to Units by rotating your mouse wheel over the knob, and press the cursor manipulator knob with the right mouse button to select it. Press the spacebar when you are in the Units menu. The Units menu allows you to manipulate how all units of measurement are conveyed to you, whether it's metric or imperial. Take a moment to review this screen, then press push button 1 Setup to bring up the Setup menu again. Using push button 2 to move down and push button 3 to move up, move the highlight over Performance and then press push button 1 Setup. Good morning. In today's lesson, we will learn how to start the KA50 Black Shark from a cold start using an abbreviated startup checklist. I have disabled your HOTAS control synchronization for the duration of this course as it can interfere with the training instructions. This mission follows and is based on the steps found in the original video released by Eagle Dynamics. This training mission is designed to standardize the style of training in Black Shark with the training found in DCS A10C Warthog. If you're having trouble hearing me, exit the mission and turn down the world and end cockpit sounds. If you have disabled your spacebar key as your fire button, please enable it for this mission to work properly. To get started, we need some power. Turn on the two battery switches by opening their covers and flipping the switches underneath. Close the covers to secure the switches against accidental bumping during flight. Remember, it is always a good idea to close the safety covers on your switches. Now that we have power, turn on the intercom switch and the R800 radio using the VHF2 switch on the wall panel. Turn on the transmission, hydraulics, and Ecron power switch located on the back panel. Then reset the master caution push light that is blinking red on the front left of your front panel. Remember to close the cover on the Ecron switch. Press the spacebar to continue after you have turned off the master caution light. Turn on the Inertial Navigation Unit, or INU, located on the back panel. Next, turn on the K041 targeting control system on the left panel and the ABRS power switch on the front panel. Turn on the standby attitude indicator and the fuel gauge, then turn on the fire suppression systems by opening the cover and right-clicking the switch to ensure it is in the operation mode. Now move the APU shutoff valve to the open position and turn on the forward and rear fuel boost pumps. To start the engines, we need to turn on the auxiliary power unit, or APU, which will provide power to start the engines. Start the APU by hitting the start button by the engine select switch on the front panel. Then release the rotor brakes by moving the rotor brake handle down. You should hear the APU start up after a couple seconds. Although not necessary for this mission, now is an excellent time to shut the cockpit door. You can do so by pressing right control and C. This will help keep some of the noise down for the rest of the training. Now that the APU is powered up and running, we can start the left engine. Turn the left engine cutoff valve to the open position. Turn on the left engine electronic governor, or EEG. Move the engine selector switch on the left panel to the left engine and press the start button. Then move the left engine cutoff valve to the open position. Great job. You should make sure that the engines power up to around 70% in under 60 seconds. You should see your engine exhaust gas temperatures indicated by the top gauge start to heat up. In addition to your engine RPM and temperatures, you should also have noticed your rotor blades have begun to spin as well. Repeat the steps for the right engine startup. Great, let's wait a moment for your right engine to spool up. Once your right engine has stabilized, shut down the APU by pushing the APU stop button next to the engine selected, and close the APU through a shut-off valve located on the right side panel. Now uncage the standby ADI by rotating the adjustment knob until the knob is depressed. Lower the collective to the lowest position by hitting L- or moving your hotel's collective control to its lowest point. Then set your engine RPM levers to the auto position by using page up or page down on the keyboard, or by moving your hotel's throttle control. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to proceed. Now that we have our engines ready to go, we need to turn on our AC generators on the right panel to provide power to the aircraft systems. Click on the engine dust protection switch on the overhead panel. Turn on the nav system and move the nav mode switch to the operate setting by moving it left or right. Power on the data link with the data link TLK power switch. Turn on the data link's VHF TLK switch. Select the desired operating mode, in this case COM, on the data link panel and set the ownership ID number as required. Since we have not assigned an ownership ID for this training mission, any number is fine. Turn on the UV-26 infrared countermeasure system and the L140 laser warning receiver on the rear panel. Set the HUD brightness as desired and press the spacebar key to continue. Engage the autopilot's bank, pitch, and yaw. The buttons will be highlighted blue when they are on. Press the spacebar to continue. Turn on the power for the ejection system by opening the cover and turning on all three switches under the ejection system safety cover. Turn on the navigation lights on the top panel and the formation lights on the right panel by moving the switch to the 100% position. Turn on the rotor tip lights and anti-collision lights on the right panel. This completes today's training lesson on the cold startup procedures for the K-850 Black Shark. You may continue exploring the Black Shark systems, practice flying, or exit the mission when you are ready. Good morning. In today's lesson, we'll be covering in-route navigation using the GeForce GTX 800 and atual. This mission follows the original in-route navigation training video released by Eagle Dynamics, but brings the training into the cockpit for a hands-on experience. If you are having trouble hearing me, exit the mission and turn down the world and in-cockpit sounds. I have disabled your HOTAS control synchronization for the duration of this mission, as it can interfere with training instructions. If you have disabled your spacebar key as your fire button, please enable it for this mission to work properly. Two systems on the K-850 Black Shark we will be concentrating on in this mission are the ABRIS AMMS, or Advanced Moving Map System, and the PBI 800 Navigation System. The two systems are independent of each other. The PBI 800 can only use up to 6 pre-programmed waypoints that are loaded from the mission editor and cannot use navigation data entered into the ABRIS during the flight. The ABRIS uses data from satellites and onboard sensors to determine its position and heading. It has a suite of useful digital readouts, including the moving map that displays your position on a topographical moving map of the region. Keep this limit in mind if you plan to create missions in the mission editor. You should perform a test of the navigation system prior to takeoff. Make sure the radar altimeter needle is pointed to 0.
Connected.
Set the minimum safe altitude by using the adjustment knob.
Channel
When the
switched.
altitude of the aircraft falls below this point, an alarm will sound. The default setting is 100 meters. Set it to 105 meters by rotating your mouse wheel over the adjustment knob. Check that the heading indication on the HSI and magnetic compass are in relation to your takeoff heading. Check that the gold NDB radio bearing RMI needle is correct on the HSI. For this flight and the ADF channel that has been selected, the needle should be pointing to about 29 degrees. Set the mode select switch on the PBI 800 to the operate mode. Press the waypoint push light on the keypad to enter waypoint navigation mode. The light will be blue when on. Press the number 1 key on the PVI 800 keypad to select waypoint 1 as our steer point, and then press the spacebar key to continue. Set the DH/DTA switch, or desired heading, desired track angle switch, next to the HSI to the auto position. Set the DH/DT, desired heading, desired track sub-mode switch on the autopilot panel to the DH position. In the DH mode, the aircraft will turn toward your current steer point. In DT mode, the aircraft will intercept the desired course track and stabilize on it. Turn the ABRIS to the map screen by hitting the nav key or push button 5. Now hit the map button on the ABRIS or push button 2 to select the map options. Press push button 3 to zoom in and push button 4 to zoom out to scale the map so you can see today's course. Press the spacebar when you are ready to continue. Ensure that the INU heading data switch is set to the gyro or directional gyro position. In most missions, this switch is set to gyro by default. Check the aircraft's position on the ABRIS to ensure it is at the initial start point and the heading is to the first waypoint. Then start the flight time clock by left-clicking once on the left clock lever. Using your HOTAS, slowly move the collective forward and gradually move the cyclic forward to take off. Maintain your heading down the runway. Once you have gained some altitude, press G on the keyboard to raise your landing gear. Try to maintain a speed of about 200 kph by moving the cyclic forward or backwards to pitch the nose of the aircraft up or down about 5 degrees. Once you have reached stable flight, trim your aircraft to reduce some of the forces and inputs required to fly the aircraft. If it's not correct, trim the aircraft again to achieve the desired goal. When you trim the aircraft, it may be necessary to pull back on the stick so the nose of the aircraft doesn't point downward violently. Press the spacebar to continue when you have trimmed your aircraft and/or stable. The route mode switch is a thumb switch located on the top of the collective. It has three settings: route, neutral, and descent. In descent mode, the aircraft will use minor adjustments of the collective to start a descent to the landing zone, but should only be used from a hover. Descent mode is activated by holding D on the keyboard. Moving the switch forward to the route mode will engage the autopilot and start your route. Press the R button on your keyboard to engage route mode. With route mode engaged, the aircraft will turn toward the first waypoint with no more than a 15-degree bank angle. You will notice a light on the top dash will illuminate with either ENR nav on or ENR course, depending on the position of the DH-DT switch. Set the BR, RD, or barometric radar switch to the desired altitude submode on the autopilot according to your task. For our task today, we will use the barometric submode. Set the switch to the BR position. When in the barometric submode, the HUD will display a barometric altitude number, and when in radar altitude mode, the HUD will display a scale that is visible while the aircraft is below 50 meters. When above 300 meters, the radar altimeter doesn't work properly and the barometric mode should be used. Climb to 325 meters and then maintain your altitude by ensuring the rate of climb indicator is at 0. Press the altitude hold button on the autopilot panel. Continue flying to waypoint 1. Approaching a waypoint in DH or desired heading mode, the aircraft will begin its turn after the waypoint has been passed. When in DT or desired track mode, a linear lead turn estimate is done prior to the waypoint to intercept the next course track. In both modes, DH or DT, the next waypoint light will illuminate 100 meters before the turn. The aircraft will then initiate an auto turn toward the next waypoint with a bank angle of less than 15 degrees. When the turn starts, the navigation data on the PVI 800 is replaced and the next waypoint light goes out. 5 degrees before the new heading, the heading is auto-corrected with the current position of the aircraft at the end of the turn and the drift. The procedure for all of the other turns will be the same. While the aircraft is finishing the course, watch how the route navigation lights on the overhead dash turn on and off as it approaches new waypoints.